So in real scenario, in real project, how the requirement will come and like how to achieve that one. So we'll divide the whole solution into step by steps so that okay we also know that okay that implementation thing, right, how it will come. So the our problem statement, right, is like, as I was mentioning that okay multiple systems will be integrating with each other, correct? So it means like some information will be created or uh, inserted at one place. So what happens, some record got created in one system, now the other system should be in sync with that particular system. So how that can happen, right? Because in that case multiple systems wants to interact with each other. So there OIC comes in the picture, that okay we can go and create the solution into the OIC. So OIC is what, right? It is a independent solution. It's a independent middleware which can make multiple systems to communicate. So our problem statement is like the integration flow focuses on extracting the structured data from the database environment and exporting it as a file for downstream system consumption and creating the records in the Fusion environment. So first I will go with the use case scenario. So for example, right, customer is operating with multiple systems, right? So that okay, some data is available into some system, and from there, right, we need to go and move to the other systems. So there, right, OIC can be a key player. Again, yesterday as I mentioned it, OIC is not that only player. MuleSoft, then we have the Dell movie, then we can go and write our custom code through microservices and all. But in that, what happened, right? It is like too much development we have to go and do, and there are a lot of dependencies. But OIC, what it is, it right? So OIC is nothing but like it is a low code framework where we can go and implement the solution faster without writing any custom code from the scratch. As the components are available, we just have to use those solutions. And then when the data is moving from one system, right, security is the major thing. So in OIC, no need to take care of any security. It is automatically or pre-built available into the environment. So as a developer, it is like it's not our responsibility, it is Oracle's responsibility, as our data will be moving from Oracle systems. So they will be taking care of everything, right? So for example, if customer is creating suppliers in Salesforce system, right? So what happen, right? They will be creating in the Salesforce, and in that information will be creating in database, right? Or for example, in Fusion, it can be any system. So from there, right, we have to extract that data and we have to go and create some file into the FTP server. We have to load the data into the database, some other database, or we have to load that thing into the Fusion. So that is what it will be, right? So in our scenario, what happen, right? We will be creating the records in the database, and from there, right, what happen, right? OIC will pick those records and it will go and call the REST APIs so that okay that data can be loaded into the Fusion environment, and along with that one, right, it can be uploaded into the like as a file into the FTP server also. So that is our problem statement, that okay we will be extracting the data from the database and then we will be preparing a file, and that file will go and prepare into the upload into the FTP server. Along with that one, the records we will be creating into the Fusion environment. So which are the systems will be interacting? Database is going to be the one system, Fusion environment, SaaS application is going to be the second system, and FTP, right, file storage server. So that is going to be the another system. So in our scenario, three systems are going to be interacting with each other. So that solution, right, how the solution will be done. So what happened, right? First of all, right, we will go and create integration. So if you want to automate, or if you want that, okay, the integration should run automatically every some frequency. So we can create a schedule integration, or if you have to create an on-demand integration, so we'll be going with the REST trigger connection. Then what happened, right? We will call the database, which will be fetching all the records from the database. Then we will do the transformation. We will go and prepare the file, and that file, right, we can go and upload to the FTP server, and then same thing, right, we will go and create it or load into the Fusion, so that okay same record can be created into the Fusion also. So that is how the whole flow will be happening, right? So the data integration will start from here, and internally it is doing all these activities, so that okay at the end, right, we will able to see the records in our Fusion environment. So this is a solution approach. So maybe like this I will explain when we go and do the theoretical, like practical. So what I will do, right, first let me go and show you the demo of that one, that okay what we are trying to achieve. So and then we'll go and implement from the scratch. So this is our Fusion environment where we will go and see our list of suppliers. right? So whatever the supply will be created, right, at the end we wanted to see into Fusion environment. Then this is going to be our database where we will go and create the records, and this is going to be our OIC instance where we will be doing the development. Correct. So the solution which we will be implementing, right, so this is the place where we will be implementing the solution. So these are the three systems, as I told, right, will be interacting. Along with that one, right, FTP. So this is not the system. OIC is a place or framework where we will be doing the development. So one system is going to be our database, another system is going to be our Fusion, and the third system is going to be our FTP server. So let me just log into the FTP server also. So this is the FTP server what I have, right? So in the FTP server, I will go and place the files here. So let me just go and show you one example which we already have. So I will go to the projects. So already I have the project created. So I will go to the integration. So whatever I will be showing, right, this one, right, all these connections and everything, right, we are going to create from the scratch. So no need to worry. But first I wanted to show you the demo so that, okay, you will get the clear picture, right, or the clear idea that, okay, what is our end goal or what we are trying to achieve, right? So this is our integration which will be trying to run. That internally will be using all these things: trigger connection, FTP connection, then REST connection, and ATP connection, ATP database connection. So if I will go to the diagram once, see, this is the same thing. REST trigger connection. So this is our REST trigger connection, which we'll use to start our integration. Then database connection. So this is our database connection, which is available. Then what happened? Our FTP adapter. So this is our FTP connection. So with which, right, we'll be communicating with our FTP server. And then at the end, right, it is our Fusion environment. So we will be connecting with the Fusion environment with the help of REST APIs. And we have created our integration, so which will be doing or using all these connections. Correct. So what happened? I will come here and I will say run this one. So what happened? First of all, right, we will be creating the records, right, the data into the Fusion in the database. So let me come to the SQL. So as of now, I am not having any records with the draft. So what will happen normally, right? So whenever a new record will be created, so what it will be coming, right, it is going to be into the draft status. So this is my table. So I can say here select star from OIC underscore pre and let me run. So if you see right here, what happened? We are getting the two records, and both the records as of now it is showing completed. Correct. So when the new record will come, right, what happened? It will come into the as a status as a draft. So what happened? Our OIC will be reading only the integrations which are having with the draft status. So for example, if I will go and run my integration or my solution now, it will not pick any records. Why? Because there's no data to pick. There's no new integration because these two integrations, if you see right, are already created into the Fusion environment. So if I will come here to the procurement and suppliers, and I will come here, manage suppliers. So I wanted to see, right, what suppliers got created. So I'm using my own initials, OEG. So if I will go and search with OEG, right, that, okay, what all suppliers are available with this one. So if you go and see, right, what happened, right, we will able to see that, okay, two suppliers are there, right? So 18-01, 18-02. Same suppliers, if you go and see right here, are available into our database. It means whatever records we have created here, right? So those things came into the Fusion also. Correct. So what happened, right? Now we'll go and insert one record into the database. Then we will go and run our integration. And then we'll be seeing that, okay, whether that record will come into the Fusion or not. Along with that one, we will see that, okay, that file, the record will come into our file also or not. So as of now, if I will go and show you the file also, right? So this will just contain one record, right? So it will just contain one record. So whatever the new things will create, right? So that needs to be come here. right? It will keep appending the data here. So we will come here, and what I can do, right? I can go and write that insert script. Now, in this case, right, my supplier name is going to be the this one. So if you see, right, what are the values, right? Supplier name, tax organization type, supplier type, business relationship, taxpayer country, and then status. So all these values, right, should be this only. Why? Because for example, if you try to create the supplier from the fusion, right, from the screen. So let me just show you that. Okay, we can say not here. So if you see that these names, right, which we are able to see, let me just open this only in that case. So these business relationship and all, right, are kind of a list of values. So this prospective, right, or this tax organization type, right. So these are the predefined, right, list of values. So we cannot go and give any random values. Only these values we need to go and give. Supplier type, right. So specific values we need to give. So our main use case is like just that. Okay, the new supplier, right, is available into the fusion environment or not. So what happened? I will go and create with today's record. I will say 20 March and first supply I wanted to create. Right. So this record I will go and insert in the database. So what happened? For example, one system is the one in which new entry came. So we can say that okay, the new record will be inserted into the database. So one record got inserted. Now if I will go and see here, right, in the table. So what happened? We will able to see that okay, three records. So what it means, right? It means that okay, there is a new entry in this system. Now, whatever new entry came into this system, right? So that needs to be synced with the Fusion environment because that data, right, is not available into the Fusion environment. So what happened, right? If I will come again here and search again, so what happened? Right? Only two records will able to see. If you see, right, only two records are there. So now, if suppose one system got incremented, right, or new data came, so now this record needs to be synced with the Fusion also. So what happened? Right? We will go and run our automated process. So I will come here and I will say that, okay, I wanted to run this integration. Now let me go and run. So if you see, right, what happened, right, we got 200. Okay. What it means, right? It means our flow got completed. And if you see, right, all the steps got completed here, success. Now we can go and check first of all our database. So earlier the status was draft. Now, if suppose everything got completed, right? So the status needs to be changed to the completed. That okay, data got loaded. So if you see it, it is showing the data as completed. Now we can come to our fusion environment. So earlier only two entries was there. Now I will go and search again. So if you see it, one more entry came. OEG supply 20 March 01. It means whatever the new entry came into the database, right? So that entry or that supplier got synced with the fusion environment. Now along with that one, we'll go and check our FTP also, whether that got synced or not. So we'll just say reconnect. And if you said the file got changed on 23rd, like today's date. Now let me go and just open the file. See, earlier only one entry was there. This is the new record which we have created, right? So what happened? New record got loaded into the FTP server also. Correct? It means now all my systems are kind of in sync with each other. Whatever data came into the database, so that data moved to the our FTP server also, and same data got moved to the our Fusion environment also. So this is how our OIC will be playing a key role when multiple systems want to communicate with each other, when data needs to move from one point to another point, right? So what happened? Right? Now going forward, we just have to run this one and all the activity is gone. Or for example, if we have created this integration as a schedule integration, right? So in that case, what happened? We will schedule this every 6 hours or every day. So in that case, what will happen? Right? Whatever the new records got created today, all the records will be synced with the Fusion or our FTP server at the end of the day or whatever time we will specify. So in that case, all the data will be synced with the other systems. Now, there is no human intervention needed for this one to make all the systems in sync. So this is the solution which we are going to create today. So let me go and start the development. So this is a new project I'm creating from the scratch. I can go and click into create. So what happened? I am creating a new project Now in this one, right, if you see, right, it is completely blank. There is nothing, no information available. So the development life cycle, I will just go back to that screen again. Yeah. So the integration development life cycle. What is the first step, right? We have to go and create the connections. Then we have to go and create the integration. Then we have to go and do the mapping of the data. Then at the end, we will be doing activating and we will go and monitor. So it means first we have to go and create our connections. So what is connections are? Connections are the things with which we can go and communicate between the systems. So if you see this diagram, right? So when if we take that, try to take our this example. So what happened? We are reading our sources database. So this is our database connection. Then one is our fusion connection system. One is our FTP system. So what happened? Whatever the systems are there, right? For all the systems, we need to go and create the connections. So one connection to this system, one connection for this one, fusion, one connection for the FTP. So whatever three connections we need to go and create for our, then we will go and create one integration. And all these things will be happening in the designer portal. So what is the one system? One system is the database. Another is FTP server. Third is like fusion. Now, if you are creating on-demand integration, so we have to go and create one more connection to start our integration. So I will be creating one by one. So first what I will do, right? I will go and create the REST trigger connection so that, okay, with the help of that one, I can go and trigger my connection or I can go and start. This option, again, it will be required only if we are creating the on-demand integration. If we are creating a schedule integration, then in this one, right, REST trigger connection is not needed. Directly we can go and just have these three options. So what happened, right? We have to go and create our connections first. So we can come to this connection screen and we can say add. Now connections, right? What happened, right? Internally they will be using the adapter. What type of adapter it is? So if you see it, connections internally are using the adapter. So when I am creating the connection for the database, right? So I will be using the ATP adapter. When I will create the connection with the fusion, I will be using the REST adapter. When I will be connecting with the FTP server, I will be using the FTP adapter. Right? So adapters are nothing but like it is a system with which we want to communicate. And in the connection, we will be providing the connectivity details. So what happened? First, I will go and create my REST trigger connection so that, okay, I can go and start my integration. So I can say REST. I will go and give the name here. So I can say here OIC REST trigger connection. Anything now you can give any name here. Now here role right will be trigger. Why? Because we want to use this to start the integration. So I will go and read. Now again, only required fields we are providing. Keyword and descriptions are optional. So in case if you want to provide, yes, we can provide. Otherwise, we can keep them as a blank. I will go and click into create. Now this is my trigger connection. So what happened? It will be just asking about the security. That okay, if this integration will be called from outside of the OIC. So that time, what is the security? So we can say or auth or basic, both we can go and use. So it means if we wanted to call our solution outside from the OIC, because when I will go and run from OIC, I already authenticated because I will come to this screen after providing my login credentials. But in case I wanted to call this outside the system, so that time how I will be using. So it is a REST, right? So REST endpoint will be generated. Along with that one, right, what is the authentication? So we can say either OAuth or basic authentication. So once we provide that information, we have to go and test this one. So when we do the test, right, so we can have to see that, okay, all the steps needs to be completed. So if you see that our configuration percentage, 100% complete. Now we can go and do the save. Now, when our integration connection is in the configured state, it means it is ready for the usage. In case if any information is missing, so what happened? It will be in the draft status. For example, if I will say come back to auth 2 and directly if I will go and do the save. So what happened? I made the changes, but I have not tested. So test connection is kind of a mandatory step to have the configured. So if you see this option is missing. So I will go and change again back to this one. So first I will go and do the test. So when the testing is complete, it will show that okay, 100% got completed. Now when I will do save, right, so status will change from draft to configured. So it means like my one system or my one connection got created, which will make which will help me to create my integration or to start my integration. Now, what are the three systems we have? So we wanted to create the information for all those in one. So I will come here. So first of all, right, what happened? Database is the thing. So I will be using the ATP database because the database which we are using is like Oracle ATP, Oracle Autonomous Transaction Processing. So the database which you are able to see, right? So this is the Autonomous Transaction Processing. So we are using the corresponding database. Again, it is not just one. If you go and see, right, Oracle. So Oracle Data Warehouse is there, Oracle ATP is there, then Oracle DBAS, Oracle Database. So all the databases are available. Other than this also, right? For example, if you use MySQL, right? So MySQL database is also there. You want to have that Postgres database, so that is also there. MySQL is also there. From IBM, right? So DB2 is also there, right? So again, any type of database it can have. It's not necessary that okay, ATP is only that one option. ATP we are using because we have that system to operate. So now I will go and use that ATP, Oracle ATP connection. I will go and give the name as OIC ATP connection. I can go and use the trigger and invoke. Now we can go and click into create. Now how our OIC will be communicating with this, right? So we need to go and provide that connectivity details. So in this case, what happened, right? We will be using JDBC over SSL. So we will be having the wallet. We need to go and provide the wallet password. We need to go and provide the database username and database password. So when we'll go and provide all this information, right? So we'll be able to communicate. Now, how we'll get this information? So with the client, we have to go and ask this information. Or if suppose this is managed by our team, right? So whoever is the DBA, right? So we have to go and request that information that, okay, we want to use the database. Please provide us all this information. So either the admin or the DBA, or if client is operating that one or client is managing, so we can ask that, okay, we wanted to use the database. So please provide all these informations. So in our case, right, what happened? I have the file, wallet file is there with me. So I can go and use this wallet file. So I will say upload. So I have uploaded my wallet file. Now for this wallet file, right, wallet password will also be there. Right? So what happened? I will go and use that wallet password. Now, what is the next thing, right? I wanted to use the database username. So database user is like admin and password for the wallet. So this is my wallet password. So what happened? I have provided all these informations. If you see it in the beginning, right, it is only 13%. Now what happened? We have to go and do the test connection. So now if you see it, what happened? Our connection got filled out. Why it got filled out? Because some information is missing. Now, if you go and see right here, whatever the mandatory informations we have provided, but what it is missing, right? It is missing one optional property. Now you can say that, okay, right? It is optional, right? It is not necessary. Yes, it is not necessary, but we have to go and provide. Why? Because multiple options are there. So what is this one, right? If you go and use the database, right? So here we will get the consumer groups. So we used to have 5 types of services. So which service we wanted to use? So based on the availability, right, we will be having 5. If suppose only one option would have been there, so in that case, if we don't provide the optional property, it will work because by default it will be connecting with that one. But in this case, we have 5 options available. So we have to go and provide the service name. So I can go and provide the service name. Now what happened, right? I can come here and I will click into again into the test. So this time if you see it, when I have provided all the information, when my system is able to connect with that one, so it will show that, okay, connection was tested successfully. Right? Now only one step is missing is the save and configuration. If you see it, it is showing 100% completed. Now I can go and say save. So status will change from draft to configured. It means now my database connection is also ready to usage. Okay, so my two systems are ready. What is our third system, right? So we want to connect with the Fusion environment, correct? So with Fusion environment, how will be connecting, right? We will be connecting with the help of REST APIs, correct? So if I will come here, I will say Fusion REST API for Supplier. So we can go to that official documentation of the Oracle. So now in this one, if you go and come, right? So this is a supplier. When you come here, right? So if you have to go and create the supplier, so this is a REST API which we have to go and use. So we have to use the post method. This is the relative endpoint URI, and we have to go and use the body like this one. So if you go and see that example, so this kind of information, right, we have to go and call, and then we will go and able to create our response will come. So in case if I wanted to create the into the fusion, right? So all these informations I need to have. Again, all are kind of not mandatory. This DUSN number and taxpayer country rate is optional. So whatever the required information, so that information we are providing. So these fields which I am putting, right? So those are the mandatory information. So that anyway we are putting, right? So with the help of this one, right, we can go and call. So what we will do now, we'll go and create our second connection. That is nothing but the REST. So we can come here and I will be using the REST adapter again. And this time I can go and call Fusion REST connection. And I can go and click into create. Now we are using the REST API. So we can say REST API base URL. What is a connection URL? Now in the connection URL, right, we just have to go and provide the host URL. We are not going to provide the complete information here, right? So the relative endpoint URI will be using at the integration. Here in the connection, right, we are just providing the host information. So this is the Fusion environment URL with which we want to communicate. What are the credentials to communicate with that one? So that we'll go and use. So this is my credentials which I have, right? So I am putting username and password. Now I can go and do the testing of this also. Now our configuration progress, right? It got completed to 100%. We can go and do the save. So our second connection also is ready. So it is in the configured. So what it means, right? Our Fusion environment is also ready. So we have that. Now what is the third system, right? We wanted to use the file server also, right? So we can come here and we will be using the FTP server. We can say FTP. Now what happened, right? We will go and give here. So we can say OIC FTP connection. Now we can go and click into create. So now when we want to connect with the FTP, right, we have to go and provide the FTP informations. Correct? So we have to go and provide the server. Again, these informations we are going to get from the client. That okay, what is their storage FTP locations. Correct? So this is our FTP server host. Now what happened? Again, I will go and do the testing because our configuration progress rate is 8%. We'll go and do the save, diagnose and test. Now let it complete. If suppose we have provided all the informations correct, it will show that 100%. If we are missing some information, it will go and fail. So in this connection, right, it will go and fail because purposefully I have not put one information. So that error message will see that okay, what that information is missing, and then we'll go and add that information. So if you see it, unable to test that connection. Now here it will give that example also, like the error message also why it got failed. Unable to access the host, unable to connect to FTP server. Please verify host and port. So up to here, right, we have given all the information correct. If you are trying to connect to the SFTP server, please choose yes for a SFTP connection. Now, the one which we are trying to connect, right? This is SFTP. So there are two types of file storage server, FTP and SFTP. Both are kind of a similar only, but SFTP is like more secure. So FTP is like file transfer protocol, SFTP is like secure file transfer protocol. So it means additional protocols are there. So the one which we have it is our SFTP. Now in OIC, right, there are no two separate adapters are available. One for FTP and one for SFTP. The same adapter will only be used for both. As I was mentioning, right, both are nothing but the same only, but SFTP is like more secure or more protocol based. So what happened? Right? How our connection will know that okay, it is FTP or SFTP. So for that also, right, one more optional property is there. So if we are not providing this option, right, so what happened? Right? It will try to understand that okay, this is a FTP server. So if it is a SFTP connection, here we have to go and say yes. Now if you go and do the test, right, what happened? Right? It will go and complete. See, it got completed. Now we can do the save. Right? So what it means, right? When we are getting error, right, we have to analyze those errors that okay, why we are getting. So it's not necessary that okay, always optional property is optional only. In some cases, right, we have to go and provide the values. So if you see right in the database also, right, we have go and provided the optional property. Then it has started working. Then in the same thing in the FTP, right, it is showing an optional property, but it is kind of a required. So we have provided that information also. So now what we have done, right, we have created all our connections. It means our first step got completed. Now what is the next thing, right? We have to go and create the integration. So integration is going to be the place where we will go and write our logic. So what happened, right? I will go and add the record here. So we'll say create integration. So we can say create. Now what type of integration? So as I was mentioning, right, that okay, in the generation tree, right, we just have three patterns: app driven, schedule integration, or event integration. But in the generation 2, right, we used to get these six patterns. Now the voice instance we have is like generation 3. So we have only three options. So we'll go with the application integration. Here we can go and give the information. So I can say OIC DB to Fusion Supplier load. Now you can give your logical name that okay, what is the name you want to give here? And I can go and click into create. So what happened? Right? We have created our integration. Now this is the designer portal where we can go and design our solution, where we can go and write our information. Now, as I was mentioning, right, for the app driven integration, right, trigger is the starting point. We have to go and give the trigger connections. So if you come here, right, what happened, right, we have to go and use. So all connections, right, why it is showing? Because all one we have created only trigger and rest all we have created as a trigger and invoke. So which is our trigger connection? This is our trigger connection. So here we'll say that okay, we are going to use this one. Now what is the name you want to call, right? So I can say here start supplier load. Again, you can give this any name. Now this is we are giving our own information. So here we can go and configure anything. We can go and click into continue. Now we are going to give our resource configuration. So what is happening, right? At the end, right, the whole integration, right, will become the REST endpoint or as a REST API. Why? Because we are using the starting point as a REST connection. So here I will go and see slash OEG slash supply. Right? So this is the relative endpoint I wanted to give. What type of REST API I wanted to create? Maybe I can say I wanted to create it as a get create, right? Get method. If you want to see any output from our endpoint, right? So we can go and configure that one. If you don't want, we can go and skip. Right? So for example, here I can say that okay, yes, I wanted to create it. So we can say that okay, create. Now whatever the options we select here, right, based on that one, the next screen will come. For example, I am not selecting any options. Now if I will go and click into continue, right, directly I came to the summary page. But for example, I will say that, okay, no, some output I need to go and receive from my integration. Now, if I will go and click into continue, so the next screen will come is the configure response. Right now, what is that response? It will come, right? So that we can come here and we can define. So that sample thing, right? We can go and provide here. So what happened, right? I will go and provide the JSON that, okay, I need to see that output. So I can say my output will be response and this one, right? So here we are just providing the schema that, okay, how our output will look like. The actual value rate will be returning at the end only. So this is how our output should come. So what happened, right? We are providing the JSON. So in the JSON, right, how the values will come, key and value, right? So we have providing the key, right? So we are providing the key, and what happened, right? Corresponding information will come as a value, right? So now we can say continue. Now we can say continue. So what happened, right? We'll come to the summary page. So in the summary page, right, what we do, right? So we can go and see that, okay, what all informations we have done, right? So that will get here, right? So what happened, right? We have given here, this is the endpoint URL we have given. We have used the get method. We have used the response method, right? So whatever we have configured, right? So that information we have given. Now we can say finish, right? So what happened, right? This is what we have here. So what happened, right? The starting point got created. Now what happened at any point of time, right? So this is how we will able to see. Now, whatever the implementation we are doing, right? So that is not saved. So what happened, right? You will able to see here unsaved changes. So after creation of any activity or anything, right? We have to go and click into save so that, okay, it will be saved. Now, when it is saved, right? If you see it, we are not getting seeing the unsaved changes. Now, as I was mentioning, right? So that implementation directly we are doing on the server itself. So there is no local development we are doing. There's no software we are installing or local. All the information, all the things we are creating into the Fusion itself, into the server itself. Now, if you said we can go and change the orientation. So it as of now it is showing top to bottom. So here we have so much space left. So what happened? Right? We can go and change the orientation from left to right. Now we can go and do the save again. Correct. Now what happened? Right? If you see it, currently our integration it is showing in the draft. Why? Because we are having one error. So whenever we create any integration, by default, we will be getting one error. So we will able to see that error here. So we can come here and we can say that, okay, what is that error? So as I mentioned, right, that, okay, whenever we create any integration, by default, we'll get one error. So why we are getting? Because primary business identifier. So primary business identifier is nothing but the tracking variable. So when our flow will work, right? When our flow will go and run, right? What is our tracking variable? How we can go and track? So if we have any unique information, we can go and use that unique information for the tracking purpose. So in this case, right, we have to go and define. So we can come and click into edit. So either we can go and come from the error, or if suppose I wanted to come explicitly and define it. So this is the option to define the business identifier. So I can go and click into business identifier. So see, same screen open. So we will having three tracking variables. So if you see tracking variable 1, 2 and 3. So up to 3 we can go and define, but 1 is the mandatory. It means 1 is the primary and 2 are the secondary. So secondary are optional, but primary we have to go and provide. So in this case, right, what happened? I can go and use my method as a connectivity. In case if we have any unique information, we can go and use that one. But just to satisfy this condition, right, what I'm using my method as a tracking variable. Now I can go and click into save again. Now if you see, right, it is showing configured. It means if I want, right, I can go and test this much. Why? Because my integration is in the configured state. So as of now, what happened? Right? It is not doing anything, right? It is just started. Now what happened? Right? We want to do, right? We want that, okay. First we wanted to extract the data from the Fusion, from the database. Sorry. correct? So if I wanted to extract the data from the database, now what happened? I will be using the database connection. So what happened? We have to come here. So what happened? This will go and start. Then we will be using the database. So if our flow diagram, right? So we have defined our REST trigger connection. Now what we have to do, right? We have to extract the information from the database. So how we can go and extract? So first we have to go and define the connection here. So we'll be using the ATP connection. So we can say OIC ATP database connection. Now what is the name you want to give, right? So I can say extract suppliers from DB, I can say. What happened? We are saying that, okay, we are going to extract the suppliers from the database. Now in database, right, what all things you can go and do? We can call the procedures, right? So that options will be coming here. We can go and call the procedures. We can go and run the statements. We can go and do that operations, right? So what happened, right? We will go with the second option, run a SQL statement. Now first let me go to the database. So what we are going to bring here, right? I wanted to bring all the records with the new draft status, right? So what is my query is going to be, right? I will be saying that, okay, select star from OIC pre-suppliers. So do we need all the records? No, right? Whichever is already completed, we are not interested into those records. So what happened, right? We are interested only into the new records. So what I will do, right? Where status is equal to draft, right? So this is going to be our query, right? So this is the data which we need to go and fetch from our OIC from the database. So currently there is no data, right? Let me go and create one entry here. I will say here run. So I inserted one record. Now suppose if I will go and run my query again. So this is the record will come. Now it can have one record, it can have two record, it can have three records. So whatever the connections will be coming from this one, right? All the draft we need to go and do fetch. Why? Because all those things we need to go and load into the fusion. Correct? So this is what we are going to use. So what happened, right? This is a query I will go and write. With the help of that one, right? I will be extracting the data from my database. So I can come here and I can say that, okay, I wanted to run my own SQL statement. Now we can go and click into continue. Now here we have to go and provide our query, which will go and extract the data. So this is my query which we wanted to execute. We can say that, okay, validate. So what happened? If our query is correct, right, it will show that, okay, validation successful. Now we can go and click into continue. And we can say finish. So what happened, right? Our one more step got created. So if you see it, we have done something new. So it will show unsaved changes. Now we can go and click into save. So what happened, right? Our records got saved. Now what happened, right? We, in case if you have to go and pass some information, right? So with the help of mapper, we can do. So for each and every object, whatever we created, so mapper will be coming here. With the help of mapper, right, we can go and feed the value to this one. Only for the trigger, the mappers will be coming after. Rest all right, the mappers are coming front. Right? So suppose example, if I wanted to test this much only, right? I wanted to see, right, whether my data will be coming from this one or not. Right? I just wanted to validate that much. So what happened, right? In case if you want to run, right, we can go and test this much integration. So what happened, right? I can come here. So for example, I can say that, okay, my integration got completed. So what happened, right? We have created the connection. We have created the integrations. We have done that mapping, right? That extraction. Now, if I wanted to run, right, what we have to do? We have to activate the integration. After that one, right, we will go and monitor. So I can come back here. Now I will go and activate my integration. So at what level, right, I will go in the debug and I will say activate here. Now what happened, right? It will show activation in progress. We can go and do the refresh. Once it is completed, right, it will show that active. Now when it is in the active, right, it means this integration got published. If suppose I wanted to go and do some activity, right, see, it will show into view only. We cannot go and make any changes. Now everything is in the read only mode only. Correct? So once we do that activity, right, so the code will be in the read only mode. Now it is published, right, so I can go and run my integration. So this is what we have, that okay, our integration got published. I can go and click into run here. So if you see it, it got 200 okay. So what it means, right, we are not written anything, right, so we are not getting any output. But through log, right, we can go and see that okay, whether we got that output record or not, right? So if you go and see it here, we can go and see the log. So at what step, right, we are extracting, right? So if you see it, extract supply from DB. If you click into this instance ID, right, you will able to see the flow diagram along with the activity stream, along with the log. So here you can go and see it, all the steps got completed. So it is showing into the green color. So we wanted to see here, right, what is the data came here, correct? So that is nothing but this one, right? Extract database. So if you go and see right into this one, and if you see right here, this is a record, correct? So only one entry we are getting, right, with the draft status. OEG supply to. See, same information we are getting. It means from database side, we are getting that information. Now, for example, right, this information, if you want to show as an output, right, we can go and do that also. But again, that is not our thing, the purpose here, that okay, we wanted to see that output here. But in case, for example, if you want to see it, yes, we can go and see. So what I will do right now, we can come back here. So what happened? We know that okay, we are able to extract the data from the database. So one step is completed. But is that the complete solution? No, right? We have to go and put the data into the Fusion also. We have to go and prepare the file, and that file, right? In the FTP server, right? We have to go and prepare the file. That means those two steps are still pending. So what happened? Right? We will come here and we can go and deactivate. So we have activated, we have monitored, right? So both the steps we have completed. We have done that activation also, and we have done the monitoring also. We are able to see the log. For example, in some case, right, our integration got failed, right? So in that case, right, it will go and show that error. So we can go and see that error records also. That okay, why it got errored out. Now we wanted to further modify. So how we can do it? In the active case, right, it is in the view only. We cannot go and do any modifications. So what we have to do, right, we will come here and we will say that okay, deactivate. And I will say deactivate integration. So once we do deactivate it, it will come back into the configured state. It means we can go and edit. So this time if I will click here, so our integration came into the edit mode. So now what it means, right? It means at this point, right, we have our information, or we have our thing here as that output available. Now whatever that output came, right, what we want to do, right? We wanted to load that information, or we want to create first the record into the file server. So what happened, right? We can come here and we can call our FTP connection. So I can say FTP connection. Now what we say, right, we can say write FTP file, or we can say write server, write supplier to FTP. Again, you can give any name, logical name. We can say continue, and we can say continue. Now on that FTP, right? So FTP is what, right? FTP is nothing but this kind of a file browser it will be, where we will having that information. So what all things we can do, right? We can create a file, we can read a file, we can delete a file, we can move the thing, right? So whatever on the folder we can go and do, right? Same options we can go and do through here. Read a file, write file, list files, move, delete, download. Right? So all these activities we can do. What is our purpose for this integration? We want to write the file. So we can say write file. Now where we want to write. So that output directory we need to go and provide, and the file name we need to go and provide here. Then if for example same file we want to append each and every time, right? So what happen, we can say append to the existing file. It means if the file is already available, it will go and append. If the file is not available, then it will go and create. Correct? So what happened? Here we can go and see that, okay, where we want to create that file. So this is my FTP server. I can say reconnect. Right? So here I want to create new file, for example. So what happened? I will come here, first copy the path. Right? That okay, what is the path I wanted to give? So this is our path where we want to create the file. Now what is our file name, right? So I can say here supplier underscore 20 march.csv. Right? For example, this is the my file name I wanted to create. And I wanted to keep appending the data to the same file. So I can go and use it append to that existing file. Now I can go and click into continue. Now how our file it will be. Correct? So we are having the content with us, right? So here we have to specify that, okay, are we going to prepare the file with the content? Yes. So we'll say yes option, and I wanted to provide the CSV file. So what happened? I will say continue. Now what type of file I want to create? So one sample file I have to go and provide. So I will go and provide this sample file. Let me open here. Edit with notepad. So I want that, okay, my file should be look like this one, right? So it will have all these informations, supply name and all, right? So that information we have provided. Now what happened? I can go and use this sample file so that, okay, my system should understand that, okay, the file will be generated into this particular format. So I can drag and drop my sample file. Again, this is just a sample file, right, which is not having any actual information. What it has, right, it is just have the layout schema that, okay, how our output it will be. Then we have to give the record name and record set name. So record name and record set is nothing but like, for example, if our file contain multiple objects, right, the complete thing what it will be and single record what it will be. So if you write address book and address, right, so it means this is a complete and this is a unique record. So here I can say supplier, and here I can say all suppliers. Then if you see, right, it is comma separated file, and below it will go and show that, okay, how that file look like. So we can say that, okay, all five columns, right, as optional, and one column we have to go and make mandatory. For example, if I will go with all option, right, and I will try to continue, right, I will get that error that, okay, at least one column should be a mandatory, right? So what happened, I will say that, okay, supply name is mandatory, so one column I made as a mandatory. Now I can go and click into continue, and I can say finish. Now what happened, right, we are preparing the file. Now what happened, right, here we are having the data with us, correct? And what we are doing, right, we are uploading the file, right, we are creating the file. Now the data needs to move from here to here because our output will be available to this one, but how the data will go here? So with the help of that mapper it will come. Now we can go and create the mapper this time. So our output is available from where, right, it will be available from our that DB response. We can say extract, extract and expand. So these are that all the information, right, which is coming from our. Now if you see it here, we have given that name, right, all suppliers. So the record name, record set, we have given all suppliers. Inside that one, right, we have given the supplier. Inside this one, right, if you see it, this is from where this structure is coming. So this is coming from our file. So whatever the file we have provided, right, so it will come from that one. See, this is what. So status, right, I have given into uppercase. So see here, the status is coming in the uppercase. Rest all things are coming in the lowercase. Now what happened, right? we say that okay, this information will go and move here. So we can go and do the mapping. Status will go into the status field. Taxpayer country will go into the taxpayer country. Business relationship will go to the business relationship. Supplier type will go to the supplier type. Tax organization type will go to the tax organization type. Supplier name will go to the supplier name. Right? So that is what we have done. Now what we do, right? We can say validate. So what happened? Right? We have validated, it is successful. So what it means, right? It means now data is moving from supplier from database to the FTP file. Right? So from point 1 to point 2, the data is moving. So this step got validated. Now we can come back here. So what happened? Right? Here we have extracted the data from the database. The data is available with us here. Then we told that okay, we want to write the file into the FTP server. So we have moved the data from here to here. Now we can do the save. Now, in case I wanted to test this much, right? That okay, whether my data will be moved to my file or not, right? Whether my file will be created or not, right? So we can validate that much. So we can come back again here. We can say activate and activate. We can say refresh. What we do, right? We can come back again here and we'll say run. What I will do, right? I will just say that okay, run. Now what is my expectation, right? My expectation is that okay, whatever the data is available in the draft status right from here. So that record needs to be created into the FTP server. So in the FTP server, what happened, right? Earlier we are just having one file, supply.csv. Now that expectation is that okay, because we have given the new name, right? So new file should be created, and that file should have the that one record. So let us go and refresh here. See, supply 20 march.csv, it will be there. Now if I will go and try to open this one, right? See here, the record is available with us. Right? So it means we are able to write that file to the server, to the FTP server. Correct? So in this case, right, for only testing purpose we did, right? So one step got completed. So what happened, right? I can come here and delete that file because in that whole solution, right, we wanted to create that file again. Now, for example, if I will go and run my integration again, right, again the file will be created. So up to here, right, what we have observed that okay, all our steps are complete working fine. We are able to extract the data from the database. We are able to write that file to the FTP server. Correct? Now we can come back again. Now what is the next thing we want to do, right? Now we want to load the data into the Fusion. So we can say deactivate. We can say edit. So what happened? We have extracted the data from the DB. We have written the data from the to the FTP file. Now in this whole thing, right? Did I written even a single line of code? Right? So now logically, if you try to visualize, right? We are trying to communicate multiple systems and all. So behind the scene, right? Some coding, something would have been there, right? Yes, it is there. But what happened, right? We are not writing that one. So this framework was designed in such a way that okay, whatever we use, right? So the code will be generated behind the scene automatically, which will make this seamless integration. So that okay, even a non-technical team members, right? Non-technical person also can go and develop the solution. Now, if you see right here, what is my primary goal? Is the data or my data understanding. If I know that okay, how the data will move from point 1 to point 2, from there to next step, from there to next step, I can go and design my any solution. Right? Did anything specific is available here that okay, we should write this specific code, we should understand this specific functionality? No, right? It is just we have to understand flow, that okay, how the data will travel from point A to point B. Now what happened, we want to create that record into the Fusion. So now what I will do, right? I will go and use the fusion connection here. So I can say here fusion REST connection. So what happened? I will give here create supplier in fusion. Now what is the relative endpoint URI? So I told right that okay, if you have to go and call the REST API, right? The fusion REST API. What is the relative endpoint? So this is a relative endpoint URI. So the base path, right, of this one, right, we already have provided, correct? We already provided into the connection. So now here what we have to do, right? We just have to use the relative endpoint URI. What type of method it is? So it is the post method. We can say post method. Now what that post method will have, right? It will have some request, it will have some response, right? So that we need to go and provide. So I can take that example of the sample, right? So this is the request payloads, right? Simple. If you have to create. So what happened, right? I will just copy this much and I will go and say that okay, this will be requiring the request payload and response payload. Both the things will be requiring. So I configure request payload and response payload. Now as I was mentioning, right, in the case of REST, whatever the option will select, right, based on that only the next screen will come. So this time I told that okay, request payload will also be required. So when I will go and click into continue, right, so the next screen will come is configure request. Here I can go and provide my sample JSON payload. So I can go and provide that here. That okay, if I want to create a new supplier into the Fusion environment, at least this kind of a payload will be required. Again, more fields are there. If we need to require those informations, we can go and provide. But just to create a simple supply into the Fusion, right? This is a mandatory information what we have. Again, in this one, right? This DUNS number or taxpayer ID, right, is still optional. So if you want, we can keep that one, or if we want to leave blank, right, we can leave the blank also. So I will say continue and continue. Now what is the next thing, right? Now we have to go and configure the response. That okay, how that output will look like. So what happened? We can say that okay, the output will look like this one, right? So this is how that output will look like. So we can say save. We can come back here and we can go and configure that response here. We can say continue and continue. We are into the summary page and here we can see that okay, what all things we have done. Endpoint URI, post method, JSON request payload and JSON response payload. Now we can say finish. So this is what we have. Now I can go and click into save. Now if I wanted to, now again, right, here I just told that okay, this is the endpoint I wanted to call. This is my request payload will look like. This is how my response payload will look like. But how the data, right, actual data. So that actual data will be moving from this one. So I can come here. Now what we do, right, we can come back here and this is what we have provided that okay, this is how our request payload will look like. Now from where this information will be coming. So this information will be coming from our database response, right? So we'll be using that information back again. So status, we don't have anything, right? So taxpayer country. So we can provide the taxpayer country, business relationship, supplier type, tax organization type, and supplier. Right? So the basic information I provided. Now I can go and click into validate. Now what happened? We can come back again here. Now we can do the save. So now what happened? What we are trying to do, right? We are trying to create the supply into the fusion. Now after this one, what happened? What happened? Once if suppose my flow will come to this point, it means my integration got or my supply got created. So after this one, what I want, right? I want to update my database, right? So that okay, my system will update this status to complete it. So that okay, when we try to run next time, right, it will not pick that again because this is already loaded into the fusion. correct? So what happened? I can go and call the database connection again here. So that ATP connection I will go and call again to update the status. Now what I will do right here, I will say update database to completed. I will go and call the SQL statement and I will go and click into continue. What is the query I need to go and write? I will say update and our table name set status is equal to completed, where then a specific supply record, right? So we can say where the supplier name, right? So this is our key. So we can say where supplier name is equal to. Now we need to go and pass the supplier name dynamically, right? So whatever the record will come, right? So that we need to go and pass. So I will be using here hash. So hash is the purpose of the hash is right to make the query parameter, right? So this will become our bind parameter so that okay we can go and pass. So I will use here p underscore supplier. So this I can give any name. So I will give the supplier name, right? So this is the name I'm giving for my parameter. We can say validate SQL query. It is success. Now we can say continue and finish. We can go into the save. Right now what is the next thing, right? We want to map that parameter, right? Because in our query, right, what we have done, right, we have told that okay we just want to update the status of the corresponding supplier only, from where we'll get the supplier, so that we can go and get either from the DB response, from the REST response also we can go and get. So I will go and map with the DB only. So supplier name. Now we can say validate. We can come down, right? So what happened? We are updating the database. Now we can go into the save. So with this one, right, what happened? Our supply got created. Maybe if you want to see that output, right, we can go and see that output message here, or we can just ignore, right? So this is that complete flow we have done. Now what happened? Right? I just tried to create the flow chart only. Did I return any code? No. Now what happened? Let us go and run this integration end to end, and we'll see that okay whether this is working fine or not. So we can go and activate. Activate. Refresh. So it got activated. Now let me go and run this one. Now before to that one, right, let me just go and log into the Fusion. Yeah. So if you see it, our integration got completed fine. So now let me go to that procurement screen and we'll see that okay whether this new record OEG supply 20 March 02, right, is available into the Fusion environment or not. So we can go to the procurement supplier. So if you see it, you will able to see here the new entry. But just to give that a complete right, what happened, I will go to the manage suppliers and I will say here OEG. So see, 4 records are there. Creation date. So 2 records got created today. Earlier, if you see right, the status was draft here. Now, if I will go and run this query again, what happened? It will go and show that okay, status completed. So with this one query, right, no data found will come. If I will just go and run this much query, see, it will show that status is completed. If I will go to the FTP server, right, refresh, so file got created. So that file will have that entry. So file is having new record. So it means what happened? The data got extracted from the database, prepared the file, loaded into the FTP server, then created the record into the Fusion with the help of REST API, and then the status got also updated so that okay next time right it will not be picked. Right, so this is how we can go and create our whole system.